I niched down from a generic automation agency after getting banned on Upwork to a salesman agency that focuses only on lead gen and sales automation systems. And today, I'll show you my complete SOP that I use to scale to $139K a month. You can copy my entire onboarding, hiring templates so you can use them in your own business and give your clients that premium feel that allows you to scale. So let's get into it. So we are inside of my SOP documentation knowledge base. I'm gonna first walk you through the onboarding and how I get started with a new client. And the reason I am doing this is because in order for you to scale, right, and allow the possibility of scale, you need to nail the onboarding, okay? And 99% of agencies and entrepreneurs that I talk to every single day have really, really bad onboarding, and they wonder why they can't scale. That is a big issue, and this is the reason why most clients actually churn. Now, you might be thinking, Saad, why should I listen to you? Well, the reason why you should listen to me is because I actually have done it. I've scaled to 139K per month, and in fact, I only sign clients to contracts to plus 6 months. And the way I do it is I only sign clients for 8K upfront for about 6 months. That way I'm always profitable, and that way I'm always collecting some cash upfront. And in fact, let me walk you through this exact strategy that I implemented a couple months back, because I noticed that I had two groups of people. I had people that would stay plus 6 months, okay, often indefinitely. These were our ideal clients, and they would understand the value we provide and give our systems time to work. And then we had a second group that churns in under 3 months. The reason why they churned is because they got impatient before we dialed in their formula, right? Or we end up firing them because they're not a good fit. So this is a strategy that I came up with, and I was very hyper selective with my clients, okay? And I only signed them to a 6-month retainer, and this is how I've managed to actually scale. And this is exactly what I'm planning to continue to do in 2025, all the way to 200K per month, okay? Now, this strategy that I walked you through is going to be for another video, but first, let's talk about onboarding, okay? So I like to call it onboarding, okay? So just after they pay, okay? So let's say you are on a call with a prospect, they like you, they're interested, they want to work with you, they want to buy your sales system, they want to buy your sales automation, right? Obviously, you're going to have to send them a contract and a payment link within 10 minutes, because 99% of your deals are going to be lost just because you're just too slow, okay? So within 10 minutes, you want to send them the proposal with a payment link. What I would recommend is always use PandaDoc. The reason why is because you can integrate Stripe, and they can just sign and get redirected to your payment link, and they can essentially just click pay and boom, right? So this is why I recommend using PandaDoc, okay? Now, when you send them a proposal, okay, they pay, etc. After that, what I do is I have an automation in the background, okay? So I create a clients folder in ClickUp as active clients. If you're wondering what this means, make sure to check out the last video where I walked you through all the backend processes that I have and also my CRM, okay? So I create a folder in ClickUp as active clients, because now they are an active client. And then I set up a dedicated Slack channel, okay, for client communication. And then I send them a welcome email with clear next steps, again, removing all the friction and setting up the expectation from the get-go. And then I send them an onboarding questionnaire where I can collect the company overview, target connection, and brand assets, okay? Because I'm connecting them with their ideal clients, so I need all of this information. And then I schedule an onboarding call, which is 30-minute max. Highly recommend you go through the onboarding questionnaire together during the onboarding call. That way you have everything that you need, because sometimes if you just send them the onboarding form, well, they're going to give you some pretty vague, stupid answers, and you don't want to deal with that, okay? Trust me when I say this. And then I set up a client dashboard access only, so I can send them basically progress updates, etc. via Slack, okay? Now, this is the automation that works in the background. So I'm waiting for a contract signed in PandaDoc, and then I add them to active clients in ClickUp, and then I create a new client channel. I wait for 5 minutes and I send them a thank you email. So I say, hey, thanks for taking care of that invoice. I'm going to leave you this blueprints in the description so you can just copy and paste. And then I wait another 5 minutes and I send them the onboarding questionnaire. Okay. So the onboarding questionnaire is this link So welcome to your onboarding. As you can see, it's very premium. It has that clean aesthetic look because you are an agency owner. You're not a glorified freelancer, obviously. So welcome to your onboarding. Excited to help you build strategic connections over the next 90 days. Make sure to complete the onboarding questionnaire. It takes 10 minutes, save us hours later. So I click on start. They have general business information. They also have website URL, their email, and I say, walk me through your main service. What exactly do you do and who do you serve? What are the benefits of your offer? What sets you apart and makes you stand out from your competitors? Do you offer any guarantees? What are the biggest pain points of your ideal customer? The reason why I'm asking this because I'm going to use this information so I can connect them with their ideal clients and so I can build them a sales system, again, automated sales system that's going to allow them to reach out to these ideal clients at scale, okay? And then I have, give us one description of who you sell your products and service to. So as you can see, it's very simple, okay? A child could understand, because if you make the process super complicated, obviously you're going to get really vague answers. Please provide a bullet list of 5 to 10 companies you'd consider to be ideal clients. The reason why I ask this Trojan question is because it helps me nail down their targets. Because if I can find 5 to 10 companies that they consider an ideal customer, well, I can simply just extract the data or scrape the data from this website and identify the exact ICP and match pattern that with multiple companies that are similar, and that way I can actually deliver, okay? After that, I have give us some titles that your ideal customer has. I also have what would be a strong partnership or connection be worth you annually, okay? And then who else serves your ideal clients? What other services do they buy? So this helps me identify referral sources so I can upsell them later. Company size of your ideal clients. For example, let's just put 1,000 here. Is there anything we should know about your ideal clients? And then I also add this, again, there's another Trojan horse question. Our approach to scripting revolves around using questions. Can you think of any questions that your prospects would likely to be responsive to? Imagine a scenario where you'd be making a cold call to them. What kind of questions would you ask? And I click OK, and then they check, and then boom. Once they go through this onboarding, will they get added to a Google Drive? Okay, and that Google Drive has multiple documents that we're going to talk about. And this second component, which is week 1, fast blitzscale. Blitzscale is basically just getting started as quickly as possible and shipping fast. So day 1 and 2. Now I have VAs that do 80% of the work because I only work about 4 hours a day. I'm not going to do admin tasks because if you're doing admin tasks, you're never going to be able to scale. So this is day 1. So as soon as they sign, I get started because day 3 and 4, I'm already getting started. I already built them the system. Okay. So this is the main important thing is you want to get started as quickly as possible. You want to show your clients that you are quick. They want to see fast wins, even if it's small. Okay. So day 1 to 2 research phase. This is what VAs do. We're going to talk about how I hire VAs later on, but essentially, they research industry landscape, okay? Who are their key players? Competitor connection research. Who are they already connected to? So essentially, I have a VA that goes through their LinkedIn and checks their connection. It really does help. And then we build ideal collection profile documents for them, basically building the persona. We map out the connector ecosystem for their industry. And then we tag Saad in Slack as power for review so I can review the work, okay? So after that, day 3 and 4, it's strategy development and launch. Boom, because we're blitz scaling. We want to interfere with the market as quickly as possible, as fast as possible, so we can deliver the wins, gather the data, and iterate and boom, scale, okay? So we create an initial connector strategy, 3 different connection angles. Essentially, these are copies. And then we write value proposition for each connector type, write initial connection request template, 3 to 5 variations. And then we build value first content pieces for connections, build initial prospects list, minimum 300 high intent leads. And then we create follow-up sequence, which is connection, intro, and follow-up. Always connection, intro, and follow-up. And then also we build a sales system in make.com and N8N, basically similar to the ones that I show you guys in this channel. And then again, we enrich with in-house tools. If you guys don't know, I have my own in-house tools, which is this platform right here. So essentially, I was putting so much money into email enrichment platforms, LinkedIn scrapers, etc. And I was like, okay, let me just build my own in-house tools. And this is exactly what I've done. And I gave this platform for free for people in my community. That way they don't have to pay for additional software. They can also scale. Okay. Now let's just go back. So we enrich with in-house tools, and then we also set up AI personalization prompts for scale, and then we tag again Saad in Slack as Flow now for review, so I can review their copies. Sometimes I handle the copywriting, but recently I just fine-tuned because a lot of my VAs actually copied the same way I write, which is pretty interesting. And I've been working with them for a few months now, so they understand how I talk and they understand how I write. And then we set up tracking systems in ClickUp in lead management, and we build reporting dashboards template. Week 2 is iterating and scaling preparation. So by week 1, I already know what works and what doesn't, okay? So what we do is we monitor acceptance rates and responses, quality check all messaging and targeting, refine based on the initial feedback because we sent 300 outreach messages to those 300 potential connectors. And then we optimize high performing messages, and then now we actually scale them. So we build larger prospects lists plus 1,000 connectors, and then we set up daily, weekly monitoring processes, and then we scale successful connection strategies. After that, we do some daily performance monitoring and then route qualified connection to clients and then handle any issues or objections. So by this point, we already are scaling the clients. So day 27 to 30, we have a first month review. So we generate a comprehensive month 1 report. We present the results and learnings, okay, in a weekly call, like I like to call it the team weekly call. And then we plan month 2 strategy adjustments, so that way we are always ahead of the curve. And then we set up ongoing weekly check-ins, okay? So month 1 success metrics, we need to be at least, every week, we need to be sending at least 1,000 outreach messages, 60% connection acceptance rate. What I mean by acceptance rate, you're gonna notice that a lot of this lingo is specifically for my agency. You can change the naming convention, but I'm gonna explain. Connection acceptance just means 60% of these actual prospects are engaged, okay? They either were interested or they asked for more information. And 50% qualified, which means they are super qualified and they actually wanted to hop on a call. And then from this people who actually wanted to hop on a call, 10 of them actually show up, and these are people that actually showed up. So 10 plus is minimum. And then we have one actual business opportunity created. At least we created like one business opportunity for our clients, okay? This is what I mean by actually delivering results for your clients. And this is how you can actually scale, right? Not by being a glorified freelancer and trying to sell systems on Upwork. 2, which is the campaign setup checklist. You can copy this. I like to call it the triple check system. So we have phase 1, planning and research. So strategic foundation, client goals clearly defined, ideal customer profile documented, target connector categories identified, like industry peers, potential partners, and referral sources, geographic and industry parameters set, and timeline and volume expectations agreed upon. And then we have essentially the research and lists built-in, prospect list, minimum 300 to 500, contact information, and then we also check blacklists and existing connector competitors and irrelevant contacts. Phase 2 is message creation. So initial connection request, 3 variation minimum. This is essentially like the detailed of the high level that I walked you through earlier. And then follow-up sequences within 2 to 3 messages, value first, content pieces created, introduction, facilitation, scripture prepared, and thank you and nurture sequences ready. And then in terms of the AI personalization, we have AI personalization prompts, dynamic fields such as company role, industry, mutual connections, quality samples tested for natural flow, and then they tag me in Slack so I can check the personalization so it's not cringe. And then we have a personalization ratio of 70% templated and 30% custom. This is called the anti-fragile method. And I came up with it when I was around 40K. And I noticed that just the AI personalization is just really bad. And most people online, or these gurus that so-called agency owners, they show you how to personalize. And it just shows like I can sniff it's AI. So I came up with a method. It's called anti-fragile method. And the way it works is you write an email manually and then you turn it into a template and you gather data, okay, about the ideal customer, and then you just feed it to AI, and then AI just fills the variables. That way it's better and more human. And then we have the technical setup, all tools configured, email sequences loaded to instantly, tracking pixels for the meetings, and then CRM integration tested and working. And then we have quality assurance. All links are functional because when you have multiple inboxes that you want to reach out with, you want to always make sure that the prospect is always going to land to your main domain. And by the way, I don't buy any software for clients, right? I don't buy them domains because I am the connector. This is the beauty about the connector system and a sales agency, is that it utilizes AI and automation to reach out to thousands of businesses, build them systems that connect them with their ideal clients at scale. Okay. And since I don't buy any domains or emails, well, I'm always going to be profitable, right? Because I am the connector. I am the middleman. I don't have to worry about warm up stages. I can get up and running as quickly as possible in my own infrastructure. And this is something that I actually like make it in my value proposition in my website. As you can see, we have 4 spots left. So I already onboarded 2 clients. Okay. And if you noticed here, the pricing that I have, so they get started right away. In 6 months, they're guaranteed 5 ideal clients, ad hoc sales system build, which means like a sales system built specifically for them. And then we get started within 24 hours and handle everything. And then we can also help them expand to new markets. And then if they commit to 12 months, they pay $83,000 upfront. Okay. And they can save 20K. Okay. So we'll just go back here. And then we have quality assurance test sequences sent to internal teams. So we have burner emails that we check, where we check the inbox placements, all links functional, tracking properly, mobile formatting, because when prospects are going to look at the email, like most of them, like I would say 50% are going to look at the email using their phone. So we want to make sure everything looks good and aesthetically pleasing. And then this is super important, spelling, grammar, obviously, like this is super important. Don't be lame. Okay. So we have phase 4, which is the launch preparation. We have final checks, campaign added to ClickUp, and active campaigns. We have daily monitoring, VAs, virtual assistants, every single day checking this. We have client notifications prepared, backup contact methods ready. If I try to pull all these systems in make.com, I'm probably going to have like 50 links in here. Then we have the go live checklist. So we have a soft launch that we talked about with 300 to 500 connections to test the performance. We monitor for 48 hours before scaling, and connection acceptance rate is more than 50%, right? Sometimes 60% before proceeding. No negative responses or reports. And then we scale to full daily volume. So this is what I mean by scaling to full daily volume if we have no negative responses or reports. Then we have the quality control processes, the no embarrassment framework, okay? Because you do not want to embarrass yourself with your clients. We have message quality standards, grammar, obviously, manual check with VA, personalization fields populated correctly, because sometimes like you would have like a field and instantly, or like a variable, and you don't have the data and it's just a blank space and it just makes you look stupid. And then we have message feels authentic and conversational, call to action specific, length appropriate, like everything is good. And then we have personalization quality score. Now, this is something you guys can just copy and paste, which is I have level 1, which is name and company, generic, what everybody does. Level 2 is industry and role. Okay, now we're getting a little bit advanced. And then level 3, recent company news / achievements. Okay, we're getting a little bit more advanced. Level 4, which is mutual connection or shared interest. Now, this is getting a little bit more advanced. Level 5 is specific value proposition for the situation. So the minimum standard that I would recommend is level 2 for all messages and level 4 for high value targets. Connection quality scoring. Now, this is before we hand those introductions to our clients. We have A-grade connections, which is decision makers, highly engaged, perfect fit for client goals. B-grade connections, relevant contacts, some engagement, good potential value. C-grade connections, connected but not engaged, uncertain value fit, disqualified, not responsive, poor fit, or requested to be removed. Then we have quality metrics, weekly review. We have the connection acceptance rate, response to follow-ups, qualified connection rates, which is again more than 30%, and introduction facilitation rate more than 10%, 0 spam reports and complaints. Okay, this is metrics that we need to check every week. Then we have the campaign performance standard. If you got tired, then well, this is what it takes to actually scale an agency. We have the daily monitoring. We have the connection request sent versus planned. We also have the acceptance rate tracking. We also have the response monitoring characterizations. All of these have multiple systems in make.com. And then we have any negative feedback flagged immediately. They get added to another Slack channel where I can just go ahead and troubleshoot immediately. And then we have technical issues identified and resolved. So this is basically every single day. And every single day, you're going to see there's some error, etc., and you have to fix it. Okay. And then we have weekly optimization. So we have underperforming messages paused or revised. Usually revise, what it means, I just rewrite them because this is the highest leverage because I'm really good at copywriting. To be fair, I think my copywriting is what made me actually crush it in the AI and automation space. So I revise all the underperforming copies and write new ones. I check the list quality, client feedback, and also performance trends analyzed, okay? And then we have the roles, definitions, and responsibilities. Now, team members handle 80% of the execution, build prospect lists, do everything. I only handle the strategic campaign planning, complex problem solving, high stakes client issues, okay? Process creation or major changes, basically the big picture vision. And then we have performance below standard. If someone does something stupid, well, they either going to be fired or we just give them another chance. The communication and management framework. So I have daily communication, not more than 45 minutes, okay? Your clients, like at first, you do not want to speak to your clients like you're talking to a friend, okay? They are working with you. So you want to keep your authority up here, okay? So we have a Slack, stand-up, yesterday's wins, today's focus, any blockers, quick review of performance dashboards, address any urgent client issues. So every single day they get that. And in terms of like progress updates, the big progress updates twice a week. And then we have weekly team meetings, 30 minutes max, because we're not here trying to chit chat. We're here to scale an agency and make a shit ton of money. So we have performance review, what's working, what's not, client feedback and testimonials, process improvement and optimizations, training needs identification, which means some members that are new, they need additional training, and then next week's priorities and goals. So it's kind of like plan to more today, okay? But weekly. And then we have monthly performance reviews, which is individual with each person, 45 minutes, where I hop on a call with team members. And then we have KPI review and goal setting, skill development and planning, process improvement suggestions, and career development discussions, because I like to be good to them. I like to give them performance bonuses, etc. So compensations and also incentives alignments, because incentives are the most important thing, okay? Charlie Munger once said, in order for you to persuade a man, appeal to his interests and not logic. So the incentives has to be aligned. Okay, you get this, I get this. And then we have the quality score maintenance targets from 4 minimum all the way to 5. Client success managers, because we have every client has an account manager. So we have client satisfaction score, targets, response time to client requests, monthly client rotation rate, expansion revenue generate, target 20% of base revenue, and introduction facilitation, at least 80% of qualified connections. And then the overall business metrics is monthly recurring revenue stays the same for at least 6 months. All right. And then we have client lifetime value, 6 months minimum, cost per acquired connection, which means how much do we actually invest in each client's sales campaign and how much do we make. Just to give you some context, it's plus 90% margins. And then in terms of like team productivity and efficiency, like we track time of each member, okay? We track the productivity of each member. We check overnight performance for any issues, review and approve daily outreach plans, quality check sample messages before sending, and we monitor client satisfaction scores. We address any team questions or blockers, and we update strategic priorities as needed. And then we have a weekly strategic review where we analyze performance trends across all clients, we identify optimization opportunities for each client's sales campaign, and then if we can upsell them later on. And then we have plan upcoming campaign strategies, review team performance and development needs, and then we prepare clients reports and communication, and we update business metrics and forecasts. Okay, so this is exactly the SOP that I'm using. Okay, all right, now let's talk about my hiring process. So I hire from Upwork mainly, okay, sometimes Indeed, but mostly Upwork. So this is a template for a lead generation specialist, okay? So essentially I give them a test task where they provide like a small paid test. They would research 25 prospects before making final hiring decisions. We have the VAs, okay? Obviously they need to be able to manage email sequences, follow-up scheduling, strong English communication, experience with CRMs, available for 6 to 8 hours a day during US business hours. And we also give them a paid trial week to ensure if they're a good fit. And then we have a bunch of screening questions. So you can just copy this entire document. We have general questions, etc. So you want to ask them if they have a good internet connection, how many hours per week they are available to work, and VA campaign management. And these are some of the key tips for success. Now I spent plus 1,000 hours figuring this out, so you can just go ahead and plug in and play. Now we have the agency SOP documentation. So this is what they get, this lead research and qualification SOP. This is like the steps that I wrote, and I used to do this all by myself, all the way to 25K a month. Okay, so this applies only if you're already making money. If you're not making money, you should probably watch the other videos about how to get your first clients in this channel. Okay, so we have the follow-up steps outlined here. We have the daily research, 100% qualified prospects using this method right here. This is the method that I came up with, which is essentially a quick explainer of how we essentially approach each client from stage 1 all the way to stage 4. Okay, time in everything. So you can just go through this in the blueprint that I'm going to leave in the description and read it slowly so you can digest the information. Okay, we also have email campaign SOP, sales call SOP for my sales reps. So I'd have sales reps, right, that basically research the prospect's company 15 minutes before the call. Obviously, you need to do it, right? Like, I used to do this by myself in order for me to close. If there's one thing that will increase your closing rate by 50%, is literally just spending 10 to 15 minutes researching your prospects, LinkedIn, website, and understand a little bit about them. Okay, like that's just so easy to do. So this is what they do. We have the call structure, all right? And then confirm, ask about current situation plus price drop. If you are wondering what I mean by price drop, go through again my channel. I have multiple videos about how to actually sell things without actually selling, okay? Because we're not trying to convince somebody to buy from us. We're just showing them that they are bleeding money, and then we just compare our solution to whatever they are doing, and they have nothing to say but sign me up. Okay, we have the discovery presentation. Again, you can just go through this after you download the documents. Okay, so this is basically my entire SOP. Now we have a little bit of context on how I operate in this level and how you can also operate at the same level. So I'll talk to you soon.